my gosh.
Mm,
Well, how's it going, Chris? How's your day?
good, good. Finally get on here with you.
Yeah, I took a week off just to prepare for this, and I got a lot of technical difficulties out of it, so I'm glad I
It's
was
all
able to
good.
make it work. But
It's all good, man.
yeah, man, introduce yourself, man. I know you're a father of two, a grandfather of one. I've been married almost 3 decades. Been with the company you're working for almost 3 decades, and
Yeah.
had a little short military career. So let the people know who you are, man, and we'll get started.
Well, I appreciate the intro there. Yeah, definitely some proud moments you mentioned there. And I guess, man, I started so young with my journey, with all of that. With the military, getting married at 20, having kids at 20. Going to school full time, working full time. It's one of those things where, having kids, our son Gavin was born at when we were 20. So yeah, a lot of things going on real quick out of the gate. And I wouldn't change a thing. Definitely, I think all of those things, including my parents and my upbringing, shaped who I am today. I didn't mention my daughter being born 3 years after Gavin was born, Shaylee, but yeah, I mean, we didn't waste any time with all that. Definitely, it was kind of funny. We didn't really have that wasn't the plan. We knew we loved each other, and we didn't put a lot of thought beyond that. But she was in college, I was working full time, and I'd done my military stuff because I didn't really know what I wanted to do. I tried the college transfer program and figured out quick that I didn't want to sit behind a desk all day. So said, "Hey, let's join the military." I saw my dad do it all my life. Basically, he retired. He was drafted during Vietnam. Basically, retired as a major in the National Guard. So I saw that all my life. So I saw what kind of value that could bring and structure. And for me, I knew I needed something. I needed some kind of direction. So that really kick-started me and set me up for success, I feel like, as far as putting that structure behind some things and really seeing what kind of successes you can have with just a little bit of structure, a little bit of consistency. So, but yeah, I've been, kids early, married early, and it's like, when you got all that stuff going on, you don't even have time to slow down and think about yourself or, anything. The focus was, we made this life, we love this life, and we're gonna kick this life's butt. It's gonna make it our own. And man, it just the years flew by. You can see all the gray. I've got all the daggone the battle scars to raising two kids, being in the field 10 or 11 years as a technician with Siemens and then taking the supervisory role and supervising a team of technicians. It's been some of the most rewarding stuff that I've ever done and some of the most challenging at the same time, which that's what makes it fun. You don't want to be bored. So I could ramble on, but any specific questions that you feel like me, anything that I
Yeah,
kind of
no, I got
went
no,
through?
I got a good little segment, but I just want to take a moment to thank you for all the years that you've been a pillar in my life through becoming a father. I mean, when we met, I had already had a baby, had a second child, now three, and just a sounding board on some of the things that maybe wasn't easy to talk about, especially in marriage, because today's topic is kind of work ethic mixed in with a little bit of commitment, and marriage takes both. It takes both.
Oh, I,
So, but I just want to take the moment to again thank you for being opening that door. I mean, you started off as a just applying to work for you as a tech, and then as the years progress, I've gotten to know your family, and I've gotten to know your son more than your daughter, just because we work in the same same company and stuff. But I keep up with her and all her schooling and going to position assistance route, and then meeting her, working with her husband along the way. So it's like just big old collection of memories that I have with you guys. But you in particular, like I said, you've been that pillar in my life, just giving me a perspective sometimes I didn't have, and so again, thank you.
Man, you're welcome, and thanks for those kind words. And honestly, for me, that's some of the things that I've really enjoyed in my leadership role at Siemens is that I'm able to be a part of so many people's lives and just be a sounding board sometimes, but at the same time, offer a different perspective. And I mean, hey, I've got a lot of years under the belt with being a father, being a husband, and nothing's perfect. So I think that a lot of times people get caught up on that striving for perfection. And I look at it's fine. I think sometimes if you strive for perfection all the time, you could set yourself up for failure if you're that kind of person.
Mhm.
But striving and knowing that you can do better, you can be better, and just strive for that. Know you're going to fall down, but I think, yeah, I remember a lot of our conversations, and I've really enjoyed getting to know you, getting to know your family. So, I appreciate those kind words, and I've definitely enjoyed your time here and enjoyed our friendship.
Yeah. No, it's been a great time. But, so when you hear the word commitment as a man, what is that? 'Cause I think a lot of perspective is from a man's perspective, right? So, again, I guess wanna just touch on that, but not so much just a male perspective, but the word commitment, what does that mean? If you were to explain it.
Commitment to me, you know, I think it's a layered word. It's one word,
Mhm.
but it's so many things. It's, definitely showing up, being present, knowing you're gonna fail. It's not gonna always be fun. It's not always about you. I think a lot of times the things that you're involved in, most things actually are much bigger than you are. And really, I think that the commitment part is just for me, honestly, it's just one of those things that was bred into me from my parents. And I had a never if I wanted to do something, I was gonna do it. I wasn't gonna find an excuse I couldn't do it. And no matter how difficult it was. And I didn't really think much about, if I wanted to do it, I just set my sights on it. And so I mean, there's just so many layers to it, but I do really feel like the biggest piece is being present and don't take yourself too seriously and just learning how to laugh at the crazy sometimes because dude, you just gotta stand in the crazy sometime and just you're a part of it,
Yeah.
and just, to
Oh,
kinda
yeah.
keep your sanity, you gotta laugh, and I do really try to find the humor in most things and laugh at myself and not take myself too seriously, and that's gotten me through a lot of situations, but I think just the commitment piece is just the knowing that it's not gonna be perfect, and, I think trust is I haven't said anything about trust. Commitment is a trust is a huge, huge piece of that and building that. And that takes time, and it takes being present consistently, even when it's not fun. That I know I kind of went in a lot of different directions there, but commitment's like an onion. It's many layers. It's not just one thing. Being seen, being the last one standing there when something's broken. You look at the from a work perspective, just being there when no one else is there, when no one else is looking and doing the right thing, it's integrity. I remember your interview. It was something that you said about something that you had messed up. I don't remember the exact thing, but you had messed it up
Yeah, I
and you
remember.
were upfront about it.
Yep.
And, that really impressed me. And because those are some of the things that are so hard to find in this day and age is just integrity and being, willing to admit when you're wrong and say, hey, I screwed up. I mean, it happens. It wasn't first time, won't be the last time. So I
Yeah,
think
no, that
that's
was
in a nutshell.
gotcha. Now do you think that you well, you did say that your parents kinda built that into you, that were there certain things that, like I know for us, like, if our kids start a sport or start anything, we don't let them just kinda give up because they don't wanna go anymore, you know? Like, I want they want so was that something that your parents did for you? Like, if you started at T-ball and halfway through the season, you're like, "I don't like this, and I wanna
You
quit."
know,
Did they make you do that, or
the weird thing is if I wanted to quit, my parents were great in that if I wanted to do something, for the most part, they'd let me do it. those very things that I did, Christy and I did with our kids when they wanted to quit something. Sure, we weren't like, we were like, heck no, you're not, you're going to see this through and really try to see them,
Mhm.
help them understand the process and at least get through to the end of a season or something like that. Even if you didn't want to play it again next year, that's fine, but you're not just going to quit. But now I'll say that, that sounds like maybe my parents just allowed me to just up and quit. That wasn't the thing. I never played. I played all sports growing up, from football, basketball, baseball, and I loved them all. And I think, really, for me, the biggest thing with them that I think they were always consistent with, I never had to think if they loved and cared about me. I always had anything I ever wanted, and they always had my back. And I didn't honestly, as a kid, I didn't really think much about that. I thought that was the norm, and until you get older and you start, that you start, having friends, especially in the military, when you meet all walks of life, you hear and see so many different stories, and you're like, wow, I actually had, I was so fortunate and lucky. I think but for me, my parents, they were consistent. They were always there. They, were consistent with their jobs, consistent with, we had routines, we had traditions. You and I have talked about these, Christmas traditions, birthday traditions, and things where as a child, and I just think back, they were fun memories. And as you go through life, those were the kind of things I brought. That was my luggage I took with me as an adult. Like, I wanted to instill the value in those same things with my wife, my kids, and anybody I touched. I wanted to talk about how proud I was of where I came from, my small family that I'm building. So that was really it with my parents, man. And it's like, I hear so many stories of people that just, staying at home forever because their parents make it easy on 'em. My parents, they let me do anything I wanted to, but I knew when I was 18 years old that I wanted my own stuff. They taught me the value of really having your own things. And I wanted my own things. I wanted my own money. I wanted to struggle. I wanted to see what that felt. I mean, I really, I wanted it to be my story, not someone else's.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember it's funny you say, like, you wanted your own things. I think I had just gotten to a point in my life when I was able to afford to live on my own. Like, I always wanted to have my own apartment. That was, like, my goal. Was like, "Oh, my own apartment." And then, I met Kaya. So, I've never lived by myself. I've always had a roommate to a certain extent, be if it was friends or family, or I live with family. But, like, the moment that I'm like, "Alright, Luis, it's time to get your one-bedroom apartment and set it up however you want." Nope, I met Kaya, so never lived by myself. So,
Same for me, man. Same for me. It was like overnight thing. Like I said, I was working full time. Got joined the military, the National Guard. So I was used to just walking around with 4, 5, 6, $700 in my pocket all the time. I mean, just for whatever. I worked full time. I didn't have any bills. I had, well, a little car payment, but nothing too
yeah.
crazy. But I got married. Bought a house, got married, had a baby on the way. So it was like overnight. I went to having like lint in my pocket. But you know what, man? I'll be honest with you, some of the struggles and that we had when we first got married, and really, we didn't have any. We had a house, we had our little cars, whatever, and had our jobs. We didn't have any money. So our fun times were spent, we would get a deck of cards, go to mom and dad's, and we'd play spades into, wee hours of more 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, or go over there. My brother actually still lived at home then with mom and dad then. We go over there and play, Street Fighter into, 3 in the morning, and just so, but those are some of the most, fun times I just think back on when we got married, and we didn't have a care in the world. We were so poor, we didn't know how poor we were, and we didn't, I guess I was just so young and naive, I didn't even know to be concerned about it, and I guess I just wasn't really worried about it because I knew, again, it was, if I set my mind to something, I was gonna do it, and this was gonna be successful. So, yeah, fun times then, man. It's actually the simple times when it's, back before smartphones, and heck, I don't even know, yeah, the internet at that point was just becoming a true thing. I don't even know if Google was a thing then, so if it shows how old I am. Yeah, man.
I remember before we used to say Google it, you know what I mean? So, but
Yep.
yeah, when it comes to, work, you've had a few different careers, right? And you have 20 plus years of working. How does your work ethic, or how has your work ethic changed from like when you were just, cuz you military, HVAC, controls tech, supervisor. Like how has that progressed, or has it always been about the same throughout the time?
I think it's all really the core of what my drive, I guess, if you will. It's definitely always been there, but now the purpose and what I was trying to accomplish, it has changed for sure. You know, as you navigate, before I went to school, HVAC school, I was working in a printing factory, and I actually really enjoyed the work there. I worked on a printing press, and there's a lot of different little intricate things that you had to do to maintain that piece of equipment and produce a good product. So I really enjoyed that, but I understood early on that I was going to be on second or third shift forever, and I knew that like that I wasn't going to be able to be a part of my family's life at like I wanted to. So, I had a drive to get away from that, and my focus, again, having a child, just getting married, buying a house, being broke as a joke, and, going to school full time. And I was still one of the top people in my class because I was driven to get the heck out of the situation I was in. Even though I enjoyed what I did, I just knew that I wasn't going to be what I needed to be for my family down the road. So, once I graduated HVAC school and got to Siemens, obviously, I mean, it was a total different ball game. I mean, yeah, I went to school, had a little. I think one of our semesters was on controls, but it didn't touch what the heck was going on at Siemens. So, yeah, definitely. Then, I really was just trying to be a sponge and soak up everything, and I seriously asked for the crappiest accounts. And when I say crappy, I just mean the most challenging, the most difficult, the ones that everybody's complaining about, didn't want to go to. Give it to me.
Yeah.
Give it to me. And I learned, I didn't understand it prior to doing that, but navigating those waters, I found out really quickly that if you will just stop and listen to people, and I'm talking about my customers at the time, it was a game changer. It was all of a sudden this customer, and just show up, listen, act like you care. I did care, and really just take care of some things. And it's like, again, it's just like the military all over again, but different in that if you just make your dang bed, polish your boots, press your uniform, you're golden. Shut your mouth. And so in my work life, it was kind of just always trying to figure out how I could get in there and make a difference. And honestly, I didn't understand it at the time, but because I always enjoyed, even as a kid, figuring out how things work and fixing things. And so, as I think that was a big transition from a technician to supervisor, because as a technician, yes, I'm fixing a lot of relationship. It was a lot of relationship based things. And, I'd say 50-50. The others like the actual parts pieces of a control system. And I love both of them. But transitioning into the supervisory role, I had to turn my tool bag in. It's all people stuff. And that honestly was a really hard pill to swallow for me because I truly enjoyed that. And so that was a tough pill to swallow and really tough to kinda walk away from, and I still if there's something's broke around the house, I'm getting my tools out. I didn't give my tool bag away, I still got it. But really, that's where I leaned into the relationship side of things, and I learned so much about myself, just how the power of just being present. And I can't tell you, like, it truly helped me in my career, but I'll be honest, it helped me more in my personal life, in my marriage, and relationships with friends. And so yeah, it's the core has always been the same. I always wanted to make a difference. I didn't always know what that difference was, but I always knew if I really wanted to do something and set my mind to it, that I could do it. So,
as a as being a provider in your household, I mean, both you and Christy both work, but as a provider, like, and I think we think work ethic is just related to work, right? But we also need to work in our marriages and with our kids. So, like you just mentioned that it helped you, like your work ethic at work helped you with how you handle things at home. Like, did you ever? Was it the same? Like, did you put the same amount of effort in working as you did in the household?
Well, yeah, and I think that, I've always been, on both fronts, professional and my personal life, really striving to get better, do better. And I think
Mhm.
what I guess to go back to what I kind of maybe put more info on what I meant by, helping out more at home. I think it really helped me how to be more efficient with my conversations because as you kind of step into a managerial role, supervisory role, you don't have as much time to have these long, stretched out conversations, um,
Right.
as you used to. You got to be more efficient. So I think obviously there were leadership courses involved, and so for me personally, that helped me be more efficient and more present with the conversations at home. Because again, as well as I do, you got little kids. You and Kaya don't have a lot of time to really sit and talk about what each other has going on. You got a kid hanging on couple kids hanging off of you. One's over there screaming hungry. So I kind of had the
Right.
same thing. And you really do have to figure out one, you got to make it a priority to do that. So I don't care what's going on. Three kids hanging on you, house on fire, whatever. You got to figure out a time to, for you and your spouse to get together and just have some you time. And so understanding the importance of that and being efficient and more, I guess, pointed in those conversations that I had, it really helped our marriage, which at that point, that's the foundation of everything that we've got going on. And so, yeah, for me, it really helped from that perspective, I guess, just really understanding the power of communication. And the power of the lack of it. You can, kind of fill the gaps because if you're not communicating on a consistent basis, I was working with one of our account managers today, and that was customers upset. Really, if our project manager had been doing the right things and having a conversation and building that relationship and that trust with that customer would have been 100% okay. I really don't have a lot going on. I just don't have anybody to gripe to. So that frustrates them there in itself. But that's for me, just the purpose and value of good, solid, efficient communication.
Okay, before we move on, I did want to ask, what did you have to learn for like the moments where you didn't want to do everything you just talked about the communication? Like, did you always have like that conversation with yourself, or did you always think about something that like, hey, this sucks, but I'm doing this because of these things to kind of help you push through? Because we're all human, so we all have days where we're not at 100%. We might be 5%. That's all we have left in the tank. But how do you push through and still make those days a success?
Well, I think a couple things. There's definitely different difficult conversations, and some of those times are I could think back when I first started my supervisory role. That was really some of the toughest moments I think I've ever had because I'm all of a sudden having to supervise folks that trained me. I considered most friends, and I've got to give them guidance. And so for me, that was some of the toughest stuff, navigating those. But I think there were definitely times where I didn't really feel like I had the energy to have some of the conversations I had to have, and you really did have to give yourself a pep talk, turn on some really uplifting music, whatever you consider that, whether it be hard stuff, rap, hard metal, whatever, something to get you pumped up and to get you to know, like, I got to make this happen. Cause I mean, like you touched on it, you're human, you make mistakes. I can tell you putting that stuff on pause and waiting till later is not what you need to do. You know, I don't care if it's, you know, your personal life or your professional life. Take care of it, address it. Uh, and so, yeah, those are, and still to this day. I mean, shoot, I get up sometimes. I don't feel like some of the meetings I've got to run and different things. It's like, gosh, but you know, I think that's times when more so now you look at just stop and look at what you've got and look at how, you know, friggin' blessed and lucky and all that stuff that you are to have what you have and to have the opportunity to go run a meeting. And not everybody has that. I think sometimes just a little reminder to yourself goes a long way because it's easy to get complacent with that stuff and really take things for
Mhm.
granted. You know, it's like, going back to my, you know, taking my childhood for granted and how, you know, lucky I had it. No, I didn't know I had it lucky. So it's like if you're living it and eating and breathing it every day, you know, it becomes the norm. And I think sometimes it is good to step away from the norm and get into something that's a more challenging. And I do feel like that's where, you know, kind of challenging yourself as you do progress in your career, no matter what stage you're in, it makes you uncomfortable, and it's actually very helpful on many fronts, but it nothing else, it does remind you of, "Dang, I got it freaking made." So, you know, and there's a lot behind that. You say you got it made, but you know as well as I do, I think there's a lot of work behind that too. You know, there's a lot of work that goes behind building something, building a team that you're proud to be a part of, that you can trust and step away from, and know that they're going to do the right thing. Building a family unit that is, you know, they know that they're loved and they got your support and that you can step away. You go on a guy's trip or whatever, go fishing, and everybody's going to be okay because you put the work in to have the things in place for that to be okay. So, yeah. Yeah, power through it sometimes though, man. I think it's not always easy. And I think a little reminder, even and you know, sometimes I've actually had throughout my career, at one point I had a leadership training that they suggested having an accountability coach. And so I did that directly after that course. And it was helpful. It was helpful. It was something that, you know, that it wasn't about being friends. It was about, you know, hold each other accountable. And, you know, hey, you got these things
Yeah.
going on in your personal life. Where you at? What did you do? And, you know, after about three times, you know, that question being asked and the answer being, I hadn't really gotten around to do anything. Well, take it off the list. It's obviously not important to you. So if something's important, you'll make it a priority. And so, yeah.
Okay. Well, I think one of the biggest commitments that we both are sharing experiences is marriage, right? Because that is a full-fledged commitment. You know, it's not that I'm not committed to my job, but if I were to leave my job tomorrow, it would just be a simple, "Hey, I'll see you later. Deuces. Thanks for the time. Thanks for the paychecks."
Yeah.
But
Yeah. I
you know,
mean,
marriage is a little bit different because you know, being kids involved and all that stuff, and and I don't really, you know, say, "Hey, that's a good thing." If you make commitment, you should definitely try to, you know, you made that commitment to each
you got to
other,
make the
so
best.
you made it for a
You got to
reason.
make
But,
right.
you know, like, how do you stay committed to, like, the things that you and Christy have for each other when life is pulling y'all in all these different directions? Because you know, sometimes you're on the road all week. Sometimes Christy's going traveling because her company's, you know, from overseas and stuff, so, like, she might be gone for a week or 2 weeks or however that's set up. But how do you guys, you know, do you guys when life is busy, do you guys say, "Hey, life's gonna get busy right fast. We might not be able to do XYZ," or you know, or like you put more emphasis on those commitments because you guys are gonna be separated for a little bit. Like, how do you guys navigate that?
Number 1, calendar. That is a game changer. It is honestly, we're so all over the place with the kids doing stuff, obviously, new granddaughter trying to get, you know, just going every which way. And it really is important to have somewhere, whether it be your Outlook calendar, Google Calendar, whatever you use, you've got these things because it is very important to take time to do the things that you want to do, to have little fun adventures here and there. I mean, you're working hard, you're spending time away from each other, all for what? You just touched on it. We work for our families. I love my
Mhm.
job, But yeah, if I hit the lottery today, yeah, it's I'm out. And so, I mean, that's just it. I'm out.
Sorry, Ron.
Sorry about that. I mean, but it really is about you do have to do things with a purpose. You do have to, and I will say it's exhausting sometimes. We show up to our excursions sometimes exhausted. And I won't forget when we went to St. Lucia for our 25th anniversary, and we literally we flew out and took a red eye there, and it was one of those things where when we got there, we were so freaking exhausted. When we got there, we're in the resort. We took a nap. We took a freaking hour nap. We knew, like, so it wasn't like we were doing anything fun, but we obviously after that we got up and went and had some good times. But you do have to be purposeful. You do need to get things penciled in somewhere, or else they're just like anything else. They'll get forgotten about and they won't happen. And to what we've really found is that we really truly love making memories with ourselves, with our family, with our friends. Those are the things that we think about when we're just sitting around having those little conversations now because we're here alone now. The kids aren't here. So we're just reminiscing over those things and also thinking about the next trip or little excursion. So using a calendar and making it happen and knowing that you're not gonna always I mean, sometimes you're just going somewhere to rest. You don't have to go somewhere to hike 10 miles. So
So what about when, you talked about being organized in a calendar, right? So do you guys when because things come up, we have families, there's an event, there's always an event that you missed and or that's coming up, but you already had something planned. And I think that's one of the things that even Kaya and I are starting to realize like we need to stop what we're doing just because this new thing comes up. Like, do you guys filter that? Like, well, that is, we already had something on the calendar. Is it easy for you guys just to say, whatever, we'll just go do this instead? Or do you guys try to stay firm to what you guys have? Because I think that opens up a door to you to always do that. Like, I'll share my one thing that I'm really bad about. I do Uber Friday, Saturday night. Those are the days that I do it because those are the days I know I can make money. But,
right,
so and so's coming over, or there's this birthday party. I have a commitment because there's a purpose for me working Uber. I'm not just going out working Uber because I want to.
right,
So,
right.
like, how do you guys navigate that? Do you guys say, no, you guys have to give us more of a heads up, or is it just
It
depends
really
on what it is?
It depends, 100% on what it is. Obviously, if it's, birthday parties, Christmas, Thanksgiving, get-togethers, that's been a tradition that we've had for years, and there's already tons of other family and people come. We're not gonna can that and go do something else, but it really just depends too on and how committed we are to doing whatever we've signed up for. Because there are times when we have friends in town or whatever. We'll say, hey, you look, we'll kind of lightly pencil that in and keep it on the calendar. And it isn't to say, hey, if something else more fun or more important comes up, but it's like, okay, let's put it there. That way, if someone else does come, say, well, we're going to do something with these friends or these people. It really depends on what it is. If it's a family tradition, and it's birthdays and those things, nah, we don't change it. And because, like I said earlier, those are the things that in my life and in Christy's life, and I hope in our kids' lives that they think back on. And we really did. We got together and we celebrated them, but it was just we also it's just getting together and seeing other family and other friends that you don't get to see all the time. It's just you don't get to do that, and as you get older and your kids get older and get more involved in things, you get less and less of those times together. Those little events like that become more and more important. So if it's something like that, we're not changing it. But if it's just, hey, we're going down to the beach with some friends on Saturday, and then all of a sudden, I don't know, somebody gives us free concert tickets. Probably gonna tell my friends that, "Hey, we got free concert tickets. We're not gonna hang out on the beach with you." Um, and then, of course, their feelings would be hurt. I totally get that. I mean, but yeah, it is a lot. I mean, and I do feel like that's where you do have to stay you gotta do what is most important to you, whether it be for financial reasons. Obviously, you're doing Uber to I'm sure it's a means to an end. You don't plan on doing that forever.
Hmm.
You set a goal, you meet that goal, and hey, man, if in 2 nights met your financial goal and you feel like, hey, I can take Sunday off. I don't need to do it and spend the afternoon Sunday with the family and go, go to the park or something. Like take advantage of that free time that you have that was unexpected. So, long story short, it depends on the situation.
I got you. I got you. What was a way in your marriage that you had to learn how to show up for your wife that wasn't natural?
Wow, talk about my feelings. Man, that's an easy one. And it's funny, you and I had a conversation about this the other day. I have a problem putting labeling my feelings. I'm in a leadership program now where we do a 2-word check-in in the morning. Every morning I've got an alarm that goes off at 8 o'clock. It's my 2-word check-in. What am I feeling
Mhm.
like? Those are my 2 words. And then 5 minutes after that, I've got to do a 2-word intent. What's my intent for the day? Do I need to be pumped up for a meeting? If I got a one-on-one or something with somebody that I've got to talk about a difficult conversation? But for me, the most difficult part of all of that is the 2-word, like putting a label on the way that I feel. Because for me, it doesn't matter what I feel like. It doesn't matter how tired I am. None of that. It's all irrelevant. I have a job to do, and that thing or that person on the other end that I'm supposed to go fix or have a conversation with, they deserve my full attention. They don't care if I'm tired or not. They might care, I don't know, but I just look at that as I owe it to them to show up with the right attitude and the right mindset. So in my mind, who the hell cares about what my feelings are, I
Right.
mean, they don't matter. So back to your question though, it really that was some of the most difficult stuff to really talk about my feelings, to be all, get down and really, okay, well, you feel like this, well, why do you feel like that? Then what makes you feel that way? It really does take you down some roads to talk about things that I guess maybe are uncomfortable for you to talk about
Mhm.
or you feel more vulnerable for whatever reason, even though you may trust this person intimately or with your life, it still doesn't mean that all of those conversations are easy. So mine are my feelings. Still to this day, I struggle sometimes. Christy will have to dig a little bit, but I've definitely, a lot better than I used to be with that. But that was my number one, and still I'd say my number one challenge.
Okay. In your opinion, what is a healthy male what sorry, let me rephrase that. What does a man's responsibility look like in a marriage?
I think you're a partner. I hear this all the time, and Christy and I talk about this all the time. Is you hear I hear it a lot more from men than I do from women that I'm gonna help out and do some laundry, or I'm gonna help out and watch the kids, or I'm gonna help out and do this. In my mind, I mean, you're not helping. They're your kids. That's your laundry. That's your yard. You're not helping. So I think the main as a male today, obviously throughout the years a male's position and purpose in a family has definitely changed. You think back in the 30s, 40s, 50s, and I didn't live then, but what you see and hear is the male went to work, made the money, and the female, for the most part, they didn't. They stayed home and did, house stuff. And it's not like that. Today's it's just too freaking expensive. You can't afford to do that. So,
Yeah, if you want
everybody
the
has to
yacht,
work.
the helicopter, the
Yeah.
trips, yeah,
So
you gotta have 2
I,
incomes.
Yeah, I mean, that reshapes everybody's role and responsibility, and I think that is one thing as a kid that I saw, my mom and my dad both busting their tails every day, going to work. Neither one of them was more important than the other.
Mhm.
Obviously, certain situations one was better than the other. And that I think that for me is okay. I've got things in my life that I'm better. I'm really good at painting and cutting in stuff. Christy, not so much. She's really good at coming in and maybe doing the wall, so I'll take the lead in that. So it just, I know it sounds so silly and simple, but we really do. I mean, we've been together long enough to understand what each other's strengths and weaknesses are. And we lean into our strengths. And, if it's my strength, I take the lead. If it's hers, I'm there to assist in any way that I can. And I don't even want to use the word help because I'm not helping. So I guess your partner. You touched on it when you kicked the show off about being a partner and being there for each other during tough times was it only about the tough times. It's just day to day, the
Yeah.
grind, what some folks would call the monotony, just makes stuff happen. Sometimes, I mean, I think, what did I do today? Some days I make the bed, some days Christy makes the bed. She makes it so much better than I do. And I don't like it. I've actually got a little joke that I do with our 84,000 pillows that are on the bed, and I'll put them up a certain way, and it's actually she thinks it's funny, but, it's it. I know she's got a busy morning, the bed's torn all to pieces, I make the bed up, you know?
Yeah.
Our time's just
I
made,
got
so just
you. Yeah.
recognizing, I
Yeah.
think, what's for each party, and then whether you're male or female, recognizing where the other one needs a little assistance and making things happen.
I know I had this internal conversation with myself when I learned I was gonna be a father, right? But what would you say you want hold on, make sure I'm doing this right. I have my notes, so I just wanna make sure I'm phrasing this correctly. Like, what's the thing that you want your kids when they think about that's dad?
Well, I already
And
know,
that's a
like
very loaded question because
yeah, it really is. So for me, man, I'm the kind of person that I always want to have fun. No matter what I'm doing, I'm at work, I'm at home. I don't want to be like super uber serious unless I have to be. I really do enjoy and value laughter and just being, just having fun. I try to make things fun. So me, my kid what my kids would say, they definitely gonna say, well, if he's definitely a prankster. If he can pull a joke on you or have some pranks going
oh
on,
yeah,
that's
I've been got
yeah, you could
way too many times. So
and so that would definitely probably be the first thing. But I think, really, I think I do really feel like if, they both understand if I'm involved in something, I do take it very seriously. With that said, and I value my time and I do not appreciate my time being wasted because I don't have a lot of it. So so that's, and they do truly understand that accountability is something that has been big on both mine and Christie's list throughout our having kids. And we really wanted to instill the importance of being accountable. And so I think one of my big things is, and it's in my email tag, leave things better than you found them. Doesn't matter
mhm.
what it is, relationship, room, let somebody know you were there. Make somebody ask, what the heck happened in here? Yeah, well, Chris coming, you know, it could be
Yeah.
just cleaning up. It could be painting. It could be whatever, man. I mean, but that's really been a motto of mine for years is leave it better than you found it. So they probably have some more things that
Yeah, we'll
are
have to have the Martin family on one day and have
have the whole family
a
on the
whole thing.
podcast. Well, they'll
Yeah.
have micro issues.
Yeah, we'll have the kids and the kids, son and daughter-in-law, so they see you can get all the perspectives.
That actually would be really funny, something to consider.
Yeah. Yeah, 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 so one thing that I learned from you, and especially when life gets hectic, you told me, it's like, "It doesn't matter if it's just 5 or 10 minutes, like, both of y'all sit down and just talk about the day," especially if y'all are super busy. Now, of course, your kids are fully grown and are no, one of them's just had a baby and what did you have something like that for your kids, especially like, being a tech or a supervisor? I was a tech, so I know I have those days where I'm just like, I put out so many fires. I don't think I can put out another fire. I don't want to have another conversation with my wife, my kids, with anybody. But did you have
Yeah,
something like that for your kids? Like, I know for me, like I did it today when I'm working. And sometimes I'm in so many meetings or just really, really long meetings. Like today, I was in a meeting for helping for about 4 hours, or
man.
maybe even longer. And then I had another hour and a half to 2 hour helping somebody else. So the girls were on the couch and they were like building a fort and they were like even just arguing about whose fort it was. So I just went and on the side of the couch and I just like rolled on top of both the forts and then it just became a
It's
whole nother
Fort Luis,
game.
that's whose sport it
And
is.
yeah, now it's like let's jump and stay on, dad. So but did you have something for your kids that regardless if it was a heavy day or a light day, you did something something like that.
Yeah, because definitely had plenty of days just like that, and, the biggest thing that and I'm so freaking glad that we did this, but dinner, sitting at the kitchen table every night. It didn't matter what it was. It could be frozen pizza, it could be bologna sandwiches, but we all as a family sat at the table, and basically nothing was
Mhm.
off limits. Honestly, sometimes when we would have friend, kids' friends come over or something, they'd be like, "What the heck are y'all talking?" It's like, look,
Yeah.
and cell phones become a thing. We have to ban cell phones from the table. But I can tell you, like, we've had so many funny conversations, tears shed, like our kitchen table, we've always said, and we still got it, you've said at it, if we ever get a new table, we're taking that table and we're having it cut up and we're having it framed because there's that thing has got so much character from all of those conversations, all those dinners. I mean, we had tortillas slapping competitions. I mean, it's
That's
females
awesome.
in the house, you're gonna be talking about tampons and female things, so it's just like,
Yeah.
there's nothing off limits, but I can tell you, looking back on the value of just, doing that and taking that time out of every single day, no matter how hectic it was, no matter how tired we were, we had to eat, so we ate as a family, and I think we really hopefully I think that's a big part. I'm really proud of both of my kids, and I think that, they're doing great things, and I'd like to think that that is a piece of, you know, them being where they are. So, yeah, that was it. I mean, they both played sports at different times and did different things. So, it's hard, even when you live in the same house, to coordinate a meeting where you eat dinner together, but that was something we did it. We put that on the calendar, and it happened every day.
Gotcha. And if you don't mind sharing, but like, do you have like a thing with Gavin and then a thing with, oh my gosh, Shaylee,
Yeah,
right? Shaylee. Do you have like a dad thing with each one of their kids? What each one of your kids that you like? That's the one thing I do with dad that just kind of tested the time.
I think so. For Gavin, I'll start with him. I mean, Gavin has always loved cars. He's been enamored with cars since he was born. I mean, and it amazed us when when he first learned to talk. I mean, he was talking about makes and models of different vehicles,
Mhm.
and to this day, so definitely done some car shows together. He and I have the BMW driving experience that's coming up. Super freaking excited about that.
Nice.
Next couple of months, we get to go rip some BMWs in South Carolina on their track. So looking forward to that. So, you know, I mean, I think just recently I went and stayed with him too, rewired his golf cart. He got some new speakers and stuff. So definitely, automobiles and, wheeled vehicles. Shaylee and I, we definitely, she right now, while she's in school, no one sees her. Even Josh, her husband, you
Yeah,
know, she
I'm sure.
she's I mean, it's amazing the amount of time and the dedication that that girl's put into what she's doing. So now, not right now, but before that, I mean, the things that we did, I did a lot of stuff with her in sports, and I miss those things. When she played travel softball and we travel around, she plays showcase softball where the goal was to get recruited by a college. So, you could imagine what the stress and pressure of that kind of stuff when you're trying to get recruited in front of college
The work
coaches.
ethic to get there, get through this stuff.
Man, yeah, and the thing I really truly believe that the lessons in life that she learned and I learned too from that is, time management, prioritizing things because you did these things and you were gone and out of town so often, but you still had to maintain really good grades, and that was not uh, up for discussion. So I really do
Mhm.
feel like it taught her discipline and where she could silence the noise and push through those difficult situations, and not say that she doesn't get overwhelmed sometimes and call, frustrated and ready to throw her computer through the window, but definitely she's in the short rows of that stuff. So, I look forward to getting back on some normal regiment of doing some things, but yeah, that's something, man. I really feel like, both of our kids definitely. Gavin didn't play sports like Shaylee did, but Gavin worked. Gavin was interested in making that money and
Yeah.
spending it as quick as he got it.
Right.
And Shaylee, we always joke we had to keep her busy so she wouldn't get in trouble. But it was a joke. But at the same time, I do feel like there's so many things that kids can get involved with today that being engaged and involved in whatever they're doing, whether it be a sport, or whether it be a video game. I see you and your kids online sometime, playing, and it's like
Yeah.
just being a part of what they're doing, so they feel okay with being themselves around you is important. And I think that that's something that I hope that I know that our kids definitely feel like they can be themselves around us. They don't have to hide anything, put up any fronts. Bring your real self to.
Yeah. Yeah. That's good, man. That's all things I've had to learn, you know, just becoming a father. Now it's like I had to learn how to be a dad to uh, two girls first. Now it's like now I have to be kind of learn how to be a dad to a boy. And I think at the end of the day, you're still being a father. I think there's no like only I can only be this way with my girls and this way with my son. But I think there's a little bit different.
It's
I've had
different.
to.
I think it's different, but it's the same in that you're consistent and you're there. And
Yep.
even your girls are going to be as they grow. They're gonna need different stuff. They're gonna be different, and you have to adapt, just because you're, discipline one this way, the other one that may not matter, taking their phone or taking, whatever, they may not even care. So you really gotta adapt and make sure that you're making a difference and they understand what's going on, but it's all different. They all 3 are gonna be different.
Okay. Is there a is there a moment in your life that you felt that you've had the biggest challenge to stay committed and through whatever the situation is, if you have one that you don't mind sharing, where like you felt that you were just being challenged on all fronts, and how did you
Eh,
get through that?
that's a tough one, Luis, because again, sometimes I feel like I should be. Yeah, Christy gives me a hard time about I don't. She says I don't worry about anything. I have no stress, which is not true.
It's a
But at the
very good
same time,
phlegmatic way to approach things. Yeah.
well, I do really try to not allow things to bother me so much. Even this podcast. I mean, I was a little bit nervous about this, but at the same time, I was like, hey, I don't do this every day, but whatever. I mean, I really do try to make sure I prepare. There's definitely been first things like, it's definitely not my go-to go stand up in front of a room full of people and talk about something. That's really I could isolate that and that incident or not say incident, but that situation. The first time I had to have a teams meeting with my team and get in front of it, the whole group. I mean, that wasn't something I'm fine one on one. I don't care. I mean, two or three of us, but like getting in
Right.
front of everybody, that just for whatever reason changes it. But I think for me, I figured out that the best thing to do there is just to prepare best you can. I like to when I'm talking to the team, hey, it's kind of like I equate a lot of things to like batting practice. If you do your bat practice, you do it every day. Say you hit 90 balls a day. Well, you're going to have some level of confidence about you when you do actually get in the game and you're standing in the batter's box and get a pitch thrown to you in a real game because you've been working, you've been putting the work in, you've been learning how to swing, you've been figuring some things out, how to hit the ball, and when you don't hit the ball, what you're doing. But if you got in there and did nothing, what level of confidence are you going to have in that batter's box? If you're true to yourself, you should have none. If you're being honest with yourself, you should have none. You should be nervous, and it's probably going to be a mess. Probably going to strike out. So just preparing. If you got things, and you obviously some things are just bam out of the blue, a surprise, and there is no level of preparation. I mean, being in the service industry, I feel like that's probably helped me some too because every there's emergencies that happen every day. Some folks may see some of these emergencies like, "Oh my gosh, really? You had a OR room go
Yeah.
down?" Like, yeah, and that's just so I do feel like that after a period of time, you kind of become numb to some things like that because you're so used to working through them. So I really can't pull I can't pull one thing out that stands out to me. I do feel like though, just when we first got married, because I did have, like I said, I'm married, working full time, so I'm literally getting up every day. I go to school at I had to be at school at 8. We got out of school at 8:30, or excuse me, 2:30. I'd fly to work. I had to be at work at 3. I didn't get off work until 11 at night. And then I mean, I had a family. So, and I also had National Guard on top of that. So, one weekend out of every month, I had my guard duty where I had to go work there. But on top of that, that printing company that I worked for, it was not uncommon for them to come in. I worked second shift for them to on a Friday night, which was supposed to be, I'm done for the week. Hey, we're working 7 days, by the way, so that meant, now, I'm working Saturday and Sunday, my little bit of time that I got to see my family. So, if I had to say anything was I think back to that time, and that was probably some of the most challenging where I knew I couldn't just quit that. My GI Bill was paying for my school, but that sucked. I was tired. It was frustrating to not be able to be I knew what Christy was going through. Well, I think I knew what she was going through. I probably had no freaking idea. At home with,
Right.
newborn. I mean, we first kid. I mean, we didn't know what the hell we were doing. So, the neighborhood we lived in wasn't the best. So, I mean, we dealt with some sketchy crap going on there. I mean, so those were stressful times that it was, man, every day was something different and crazy and just new parents and everything else, man. So those are probably just working through that. And I think that was hard on our marriage. It was hard. And I think, there were times that we were both ready to kill each other, but we weren't around each other enough to really have, like we were argued all the time or anything. So, but it was just like we just weren't around each other enough either to have a good solid foundation and relationship. So it wasn't until I graduated and actually got a first shift job with Siemens that my life started becoming normal. And then I'm like, oh my gosh, man, this is actually easy.
Right.
Not that
I'm
it was
on.
easy, but definitely it was,
Yeah.
now I've got a normal schedule and see my wife and that, wasn't long after I started with Siemens, Shaylee was born. Yeah. So if I had to pull something out, I guess that would be it. That was just a whole, you know, that was challenging all the way around, really.
Yeah. Has how do your values or your faith tie into your commitment? Like they are like a pillar and why you stay committed to things you stay committed in or committed
My
to.
values for sure. My values for sure, and my faith, not so much, unfortunately, but I do feel like there's definitely a higher power, and I definitely, for me, I always look at, sometimes you need to stop what you're doing and recalibrate, clear your head, cleanse your thoughts, if you will, because you're human. There's going to be times when you just you're to the point where you're in a bad mood or something, and so just stopping and thinking about wherever that whatever that is, and for me, it is about reminding myself. I always I say this all the time, it could always be worse, and, it's just a
Right.
simple saying. I really truly, when I say that, try to really think about how bad it could be and try to remind myself, like, I've got friends and with family members that have cancer and even friends that have had cancer, have cancer, and just lost, one of the a worker, a guy for First Union that when I started with Siemens, a lot of my little jokes and things that I say, like I got them from this guy. I found out earlier this week that he passed away. And so for me, that was like, wow, man, that sucks. And just reminding myself of that and thinking about those kind of things in those tough moments help keep me grounded and really honestly, man. And that's, I really do try to have a honest relationship with everybody that I work with and that reports to me. And I'm privy to a lot of things. And that in itself just, you know, man, some of those conversations are hard to
Yeah.
walk away from them, and count my blessings. So that's
Look at
really the
Paul.
thing.
What the whole situation with Paul and all he went through. That's
Right.
you know I saw Paul at the office the other day, and man, I had to double take, and I'm glad he's here. You know, I'm glad he's here, and I believe it is his son still.
Yep, yep, they're both
What?
they're
So like,
both
you know, that's cool. That's cool that father son kind of situation, and that he's still around, man. I before leaving to Orlando, I worked a lot with Paul. I did a lot of different jobs with him, and yeah. So,
Yeah,
man,
I
you
mean, those
definitely
kind
have
of
to
things,
take those
like,
times.
you think about those things and that's when I really do say, it could always be worse. I'm not just saying it. I mean, I really think about those things during that, and, um, I really do try to relate that to folks and things and hell, all the craziness going on in the world that, really do have it made. We're lucky. Our struggle looks a lot different than somebody struggling in another, a third world country.
Actual struggle.
Right.
A lot of our
Right.
struggle is like, oh, I didn't get that phone, or I didn't get that shoe, or I didn't get that car. But that's one of the things that's been hitting me hard. We have some family that had a baby premature, and little baby Tristan, he's been in the NICU basically his entire time on. He has to have some stuff because he's just premature. And when I read the comments or the post that his mom makes, it rocks me hard because like that baby's fighting for his life every second, having to be
You
brought
don't
back
realize how fragile
sometimes to this
Yeah, you
extent.
don't realize how fragile life is until you're able to see somebody in NICU like that. My granddaughter was like that, and, for us, if we get sick or get a cold, I mean, we've got weeks we could take to get over it. I mean, but, our immune system is stronger, but those when they're little like that, they can't take, weeks of a temperature being escalated or higher heart rate. They're fragile. You really do realize how fragile life is when you see that or when you read those comments, and yeah, that's sad and all the way around.
Yeah, he's getting better. He seems to be progressing. There's just some good days, some bad days. I'm sure they'll be excited to not have him in the NICU anymore. But
Yeah,
that's
they're probably living at the hospital, I could imagine, taking,
yeah. Kim
turns.
Kim for a while, that's all she did. I mean, basically,
Yep.
I think all her entire paternity leave was her at the hospital. Just basically being there. And not really able to do anything. You know, And I think that's one of the I was talking with when I was getting my hair cut, I was talking with the lady that was cutting my hair, and I told her, I was like, for fathers and mothers too, but I feel like, and just in my experience, when you're a dad and you're expecting to have a child, it's like a secret battle that we have, because at any given point anything happens, our protective mode comes in, and we're like, we want to help, but what can we do? you know, but have the faith that everything's gonna, be all
You're
right.
helpless.
Because
You're absolutely
you
helpless in
know,
that situation.
I didn't every time for all my kids, it was the same way. Like I did not, and I never showed it, but I never breathe easily until like, okay, Ava's here, Sally's here, Mateo's here, because you just never know. You never know what could happen. So what we all have a date that we expire, just like milk. But, what do you want, what in your mind and in your thoughts, like, what legacy do you wanna leave behind? Like, what when people see the birth year and the day that we're no longer here, and that in between line, what do you want that to mean to people?
I mean, I kinda touched on it a little bit ago in that I hope that I I I I brought people together. Maybe it's with laughter, maybe it's with motivational. I think about our conversations that we've had. I think they have, and I hope they've made a difference and an impact for you.
Have
And for me, man, those are the things that I cherish and are most important to me. It isn't a dollar or a paycheck. Obviously, I got to have a paycheck. I got bills, but at the end of the day, the most things that are important to me and I cherish, they are the connections and the relationships that I've made, because I'm not the most peoply person. I mean, I'm really, if I've invested time in you and really like I value you and you're important to me, and I want to try to make a difference for you. And even if it's just like I said earlier, a sounding board, give a little bit of good advice. I feel like I've got a pretty decent story. I've got the things that I've been through and done. Um, but really just, you know, a little humor, a little, laughter, leaving things better than you found them, and don't take yourself too, seriously, but really understand the value of being present, no matter if you're a husband, father, friend. You never know what kind of impact you're making to and for somebody by just being there for them. So for me, I'd say that, I hope that all of those people, my wife, my kids, my friends,
Yeah.
would say that, would have something or think something like that, because that really is that's my goal with them, and what I hope I'm helpful with. And so yeah, that's my
Okay.
little thing there that
Yeah, no, that's good. No, that's one of the things that you told me when we met. Like that was your mission in life was to be a piece of other people's success, whether it's like relations or work or just anything. You just whatever small fragment you can be, you know, and that always kind of stuck with me. So, I have some rapid fire fun questions for you. So, enough of the serious and all that stuff. Let's do some fun
that's all
stuff.
good, man. I enjoyed them, man. I enjoyed them.
Yeah, man. What's favorite fast food on a long day? You just had a long
Favorite
day,
fast
and
food?
where'd you
Man, a
go?
long day, dude. If I got to just run through somewhere, I'm getting McDonald's French fries and a chocolate milkshake. It's
That's
nothing too
solid.
crazy.
Solid.
Yeah,
What's one thing that recharges their soul?
good music, good live music. I love live music.
It's the best advice you ever got about being a husband.
You could be right or you could be happy. No, I mean, and really, there's a lot to that. I think, pick your battles. And the best advice that was given to me was, if you're more interested in being right than finding a solution to whatever it is you're having a disagreement about, then, fine, be right. But what did you do? What kind of damage did you do to prove that you're right to your relationship? I mean, if it was really your priority and really that important to you, I mean, was it really worth going the extra mile to prove that you were right? So to me, I mean, and that's not something that I ever had an issue with, but at the same time, you do find yourself sometimes just like, man, it's you just got to think like, does it even really matter? So if it doesn't matter at the end of the day, if it doesn't matter, I mean, whatever. I mean, so I think, I didn't learn that right out of the gate, being married a handful of years, dealing with some struggles. I think it's just one of those things you do start having conversations with folks that to try to, better yourself and be a better spouse. I think that was really the most helpful as far as like, just it isn't worth it. Don't argue. I mean, leave it alone, and also make time for each other. That's the biggest thing. Honestly, that's the biggest thing. You take some time out and listen and just try to, empathize, understand, and I mean, it's just that stuff goes so far.
Oh yeah, yeah. What's your lock-in song?
Lock in song. Wow, I'm all over the
Yeah,
place
like
with my
what's
music. I'm all over the place with my music. If I had to say right now, you would never. If you had to pick my lock in song, what do you think it would be?
some Mexican notes?
You're not far off. You're not far off. I mean, and so honestly, so I change. Like I'm kind of with my mood. Like I might listen to some Pantera. I was listening to Pantera today when I had to go drop some parts off to have them shipped off. But really, I'm in a faux mob right now. Out of he got his Texas song. Man, I like that song right now. So, but
Yeah. All right,
I don't know.
last question. I know all your trips with Christy are your favorite trip, but what's out of the 25 plus years you guys been together, what would be like the number one?
Wow, that's tough because we have definitely had a lot of fun times, but I'd have to say when we went to Mexico, went to Cabo San Lucas, and
Nice.
wow, what a freaking fun time. So I can't wait to go back and do that one again.
Yeah, man. Well, that's all I have for you, man. I want to again thank you for taking the time and appreciate the patience with the computer issues and whatnot. But
Hey man, I'm glad we did it. Glad it worked out. So I was getting concerned. I was like, man, we're gonna have to postpone this thing and do it another day.
nah,
But it's all good. It's all good, man. I hope it's something that's once you do all your editing, it's there's actually some good content in there, and hopefully again, I feel like if there's anything I can help with later on, man, I do feel like a follow-up visit with, Christy or the kids, that would be a funny one.
Yeah.
Even if it
No,
was a
that'd be
15,
great,
20
man.
minutes.
Well,
Oh my gosh, it'd be
we'll have
hilarious.
to we'll have to figure out when we can get all y'all together and we'll do it in person. I think in person
Yeah, sure, that would be
podcast
that way we get
episodes are yeah. We'll set it all up, man. I got everything I need. Just need a date and a place to go.
well. Well, cool. Well, I appreciate, man, you having me on and asking me to do this. I've enjoyed it. Like I said, I was a little nervous when you asked me to do it, but at the same time, man, I've thoroughly enjoyed it, and I look forward to actually seeing it when you push it out.
It'll be should be out tomorrow.
Oh, cool. Well, good deal, man. Well, you enjoy your evening.